Arguably one of the most significant naval war games in the world, the India, US, Australia, Japan Quad Malabar Navy exercises conclude today in Sydney. But hovering a few hundred kilometers overhead is a horde of nearly 300 Chinese spy satellites. Xi Jinping has sent his spy satellite army to closely monitor the warships from its biggest adversaries. An Australian defense company, EOS Systems, has been tracking the movement of Chinese satellites closely. They claim to have made a startling discovery. Nearly 300 Chinese spy satellites surveyed ground activities near Sydney during the Malabar Wargames. With close to 3,000 overflights, the Chinese spy network was elaborate. But why is China rattled with Quad Navy wargames? Does Xi Jinping fear Quad's combined might? The Malabar Navy exercise, which began in 1992 between Indian Navy and the US, has now expanded to include Indo-Pacific allies Australia and Japan. The Aussies joined in 2007 before withdrawing and then rejoined in 2020, fearful of China's expansionist ambitions in their own backyard. In Malabar 2023, Australia then deployed its most potent weapons, including the stealth F-35 fighter jets and P-8 surveillance aircraft, while India sent one of its biggest warships, the 163-meter-long, 6,800-ton monster INS Kolkata, an indigenously built guided missile destroyer. It's one of the deadliest warships in the Indian fleet with a length of 163 meters, width of 17 meters, and is armed with supersonic cruise missiles like the BrahMos. It has two of its own anti-submarine warfare helicopters like Sea King or HAL Dhruv and is armed with electronic warfare capabilities. India's stealth frigate INS Sahyadri also accompanied INS Kolkata. INS Sahyadri is the pride of the Indian Navy's Eastern Fleet, having completed missions to the South China Sea and the Western Pacific. Joining the Indian and Australian Navy were the warships from US and Japan. As the Quad navies conducted wargames to boost their strategic and tactical know-how and interoperability, they would have expected and known about the presence of the Chinese spy satellite network overhead, as 300 Chinese low Earth observation satellites took turns to gather any intel on its adversaries. But this wasn't the first time China spied on such wargames. Even last month, 3 Chinese satellites kept a close eye on the Talisman saber drills in northern Australia. These included the Xi'an 1201 and the Shijian 17 and Shijian 23 satellites identified by Australia. In one of the biggest international flashpoints of the year, a US fighter jet shot down a Chinese spy balloon. Measuring nearly 3 bus lengths, it reportedly carried lots of surveillance equipment. A similar Chinese spy balloon was reportedly seen over the geostrategic Andaman and Nicobar Islands in India. But does only China use spy satellites? The answer is no. Most advanced nations deploy satellites for intelligence gathering purposes. According to reports, by 2020, India had nearly 13 satellites for such purposes, though the primary focus remains on defense, anti-infiltration, watching the country's borders, or signal interception or electronic warfare. India launched its first spy satellite, the RISAT-2, in 2009, which had an Israeli radar, after the program was accelerated following the Mumbai terror attack by Pakistani terrorists. The RISAT-2 ended its nearly 14-year mission in 2022 with a splashdown in the Indian Ocean. While the US has arguably the most advanced spy satellite network in the world, it has been extensively used to watch Beijing's key projects, including its space program. The US is also in the process of deploying a spy satellite constellation designed to counter China and Russia. But what's alarming about China's deployment of 300 satellites to watch Malabar naval wargames is its sheer scale and audacity. Beijing is openly daring its Quad rivals and is not even hiding it. What Chinese satellites won't be able to track, however, is India's latest submarine INS Wargames. INS Wargames reached Fremantle in Australia on August 20th to participate in anti-submarine warfare exercises with the Royal Australian Navy. Indian Navy's P-8I aircraft are also scheduled to participate with INS Wargames. This is the Indian Navy's 5th Cavalry-class submarine and was commissioned in January 2023. The diesel-electric attack submarine INS Wargames is based in Mumbai, and this visit to Australia is part of its forward-long deployment. On Australia's east coast, Indian naval ships and aircraft part of Malabar exercises will now take part in India-Australia Navy drills EOS Index 2023 from the 22nd to the 24th of August.